Hey y'all, how you doing? It's Kristi. It is Sunday. I am a mess. My computer is not working very well, and things are just chaotic. But we're gonna just jump in and try to get through this. I hope y'all are doing well. Preview unavailable. What is going on here? I'm trying to find the slides so that we can discuss the various points of discourse analysis. However, my computer has also been awful in the last 24 hours, and so that might have something to do with the problems it's having pulling things up. Okay, now there we go. All right. Oh, this is not the one I want. Well, let's scroll down. So yeah, we're going to discuss the principles of discourse analysis as outlined by Guy. We mentioned that in the last time. No, this is not the right example. I need to go back. Analyzing text or talk and text is what I'm looking for. So while I try to multitask, we're gonna have a look at that video, A Date with Your Family, and we're going to look at Guy's principles about what is significant, what is considered normal and good, and talk and text. Here we go. See if it comes up now. In order to understand what kind of values this piece of communication is meant to, there we go, text. All right, it's one of these two. It's text and talk and talk. I think it's talk and text. We did text and talk, so let's look at this one. Talk and text. Discourse analysis, yay! You would not believe how difficult it is to sometimes organize myself. Anyway, very quickly, let's recap this, right? Initially, in the early part of the 20th century, there was a philosophical debate about what is language. What is language? Logical positivists in the Vienna Circle were reacting against the language being used by Hegelians. This is kind of like slightly amorphous. It's not as precise as, let's say, scientific language. And the logical positivists, one of their goals was to try to tighten up what is meaningful and what is not meaningful. And in the course of this pursuit, they initially had an idea of language being a picture of the world. The world exists. We use language as a picture in order to understand what we're seeing. So it's more driven from our experiences up, and language is just a neutral sort of thing that we use in order to help us understand the world. However, the more this was explored, so I think very famously we can look at Wittgenstein in the Tractatus, had a sort of a bold, claim about what language can and can't do, what we can speak about meaningfully, which itself is a very complicated and rather problematic term. It sort of shows the problems of what happens when you try to deconstruct your own paradigm. Eventually, Wittgenstein came to the view that language is not a picture, language is a tool. That language is infinitely extendable in that there's no limit on what meaning we can apply to a word in order to help us understand our world. And through this, we started to, there was a movement toward understanding the ways in which language shapes the world. And that's where we are today. So we are going to be examining how language, I guess you're seeing me look. I didn't pop out the chat. Hi, chat. I will pop you out that way and put you over here. We're going to, pay attention. And so in discourse analysis, we're really looking at how reality is constructed, how a social reality, not material reality, but how social reality is constructed. And by that, it's an incredibly powerful thing that we do that we are kind of unaware of. In the same ways that we're swimming in patriarchy and we don't realize all the ways in which patriarchy poisons our view of power and hierarchy and value, and the same way that you can do this with other forms of oppression or whatever, the idea that it's hard to see, when you're in the middle of it. So we're going to take a step back and have a framework that helps us detach from the experience of the presentation of a social reality that we are meant to either identify with or feel alienated from. And by doing this, by stepping back and being very rigorous in identifying what are the purposes behind this language, what's the intention behind it, what are the effects of it, we can understand how societal values are created, reproduced, and imposed based on the culture. we're going to, I think, discourse analysis. Come on, give me the meanings. Oh, this is being rubbish. I'm so unorganized today, for which I apologize. Here we go. Okay, let's copy this. Oh, yeah, we're going to have to do this. Okay, well, I guess we can do this one at a time. And if you have comments that you've made in the Discord, if you want to mention them in the chat, I will pull them up. Oh, except we can't really see where you are down there, can you? There we go. Oh, that's interesting. That's, let me just check. Let me change this. Oh, okay, I see what's happening here. I just need to pull that out. Boom. That's what she said. Okay. There we are. So this is a little bit big, so I'm just trying to make sure it all fits. Again, that's what she said. I need to stop that. Okay, so the things that we're going to be making notes of here. All right, maybe I'll just bring up my notepad and we can copy and paste here so we remember. So we're looking at what is being made significant or not, right? What is being made invisible? What are people enacting with? What are their activities? Is a piece of language doing? And what is it recognized as being doing? How is it creating identities? And what are those identities? What are the limits of those identities? What are the powers behind those identities? Relationships. This can be a power relationship or a closeness relationship. The distribution of social goods. The politics of a piece of language. Yeah. Just kind of remind ourselves of some of these things. That is annoying. There we go. Because politics isn't necessarily self-evident. Connections. How is language being used to connect things or disconnect things as being, relevant or irrelevant? Sign systems and knowledge. I guess this is certain forms of knowledge or belief that is privileged, and I think we could probably identify some signs systems here. Like, let me see. How does this piece of language privilege or disprivilege? Here we go. I think maybe this one, or different ways of knowing or claims to knowledge. I think that's the last one. Yeah. All right. So with these notes in mind, we're gonna have a little look at higher speed, because I don't think we need to go at regular speed for this. We're going to have a look at a date with your family and ask ourselves, what in this piece is being made significant? What activities are being enacted? Is there a way I can kind of put this up here somewhere? Yeah, I think you can see that. View, zoom in a bit, maybe. Zoom in a bit more. That should, I think, be sufficient okay. And bring this down a little bit. See, this is the stuff I do before the show, but I was too distracted today. Okay. You went to Target yesterday. Good for you, DN fan. Hello, Tyra. Or is it Tira? Did let me know. Michael, hello. Lord, shush. Is it welcome? Is there anyone else in the chat who I can't see? Welcome to you as well. All right, we're going to zip this up to playback speed. Let's try 2.5 and see how that goes. And oh wow, I'm really strobing with this shirt, aren't I? Oh, sorry about that, y'all. All right, I'm gonna hit play and change my shirt because I don't want to strobe on camera. That's my fault for wearing a very small stripy shirt. All right, I'll put it back to normal speed for the moment so that I'll go change. All right, I'm hitting play. Is there no sound? Oh, I had the desktop off. My apologies, everyone. You had to sit there for a few seconds in complete silence. All right, hold on. Let me get the sound coming through for me, too. Apologies for that. I forgot that I muted the desktop. Oh, well. We'll live.
This boy and girl coming home from school look quite content with life.
Okay,
But
let's
why
whip up
not?
the speed.
They're looking forward to an important date, dinner at home with the family.
That's a little too
What's
fast.
the matter? Doesn't that sound exciting to you? Well, to them it's a special occasion, as it has been ever since they sat down to dinner in high chairs. Why should they feel that way about something you take so completely for granted? Well,
Okay, first of all, can we just talk about the attitude of this dude? He's like, hey, you're crap. Like, there's an assumption here that kids are like, like dismissive and disrespectful of their families, and maybe some are. But personally, I think this tone is really freaking patronizing because it just assumes guilt of the audience and then says, you suck and here's how you should be. So anyway, that's my thing. No set. Yeah, okay, I got you. Yeah, apologies, everyone. I fixed it. All right, we are back. Louder? Sure, we can also do it louder. I think that should be a bit better. Let me check the audio desktop again, make sure y'all can hear this. All right, let's go.
let's see if we can...
Oh yeah, that's really far down, ain't it? All right, let me up this on the, Oh, wow. Let's see, hopefully this won't blow us all out.
find out.
Yeah, that's better. All right, I think I could still bring it up a little bit because my mic is just hitting the yellow and that's still in the green. So we watched this bit the first time last week, so you're not really missing anything if you haven't been paying attention or you didn't hear anything yet.
First of all, daughter has changed from school clothes to something more festive. Dressing a little makes her feel and consequently look more charming. Even the table takes on a special air. Mother, too, changes from her daytime clothes. The women of this family seem to feel that they owe it to the men of the family to look relaxed, rested, and attractive at dinner time.
All right, so we're already into a whole lot of values we discussed last time. And it's, basically women are here to serve men. They're meant to look nice and be nice and present themselves nicely, basically to be objects, to make a man's atmosphere nicer. How she feels, how her day went, the dad's obligation or brother's obligation to show up at the dinner table to look nice and rested and relaxed for the women of the family, I can tell you never comes up. I can tell you that right now. And how is that a festive outfit? Yes, that's an excellent question. But clearly, what is being conveyed here is that women, girls, your job is to think about how to make men happy and not yourself. Like that's really the norm that's being promoted here, and it's not like this is going to change throughout. I'm still thinking around a little bit with my location. Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I do thinking around again a bit more. All right, let's hit play.
Brother is spending an hour before dinner catching up on his homework. He has plans evening. Perhaps that explains the telephone call.
So again, even though there are chores to be done, everyone could be, helping out and stepping up. No. Men get to focus on their education, and they also, get to organize their social lives because that's their freedom. Men get to do that, right? Daughter doesn't have the opportunity to work on her homework. She has to get dinner ready.
But he won't spend a lot of time on the phone either. When there are several members of the family to be considered, it is not a good idea for one member to monopolize the phone. And it is never good to allow telephone conversations to interfere with studies.
All right, yeah, don't even, this is so repressive. Like, don't spend all your time on the phone. I guess, complaining about teenager behavior has been the pastime of adults since they could write. And we could note it down probably before then, too. Sorry, my hair is a little bit on the there's a reason I'm wearing a baseball cap today. All right.
Is it that late? Dad will be here any minute. Better tell Mother she's needed in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah. See? Women's got to do all the unpaid labor. And just think about the men. Their lives revolve around, like, when they get home from school, getting ready for dinner, when dad gets ready for, having everything, it's just service. Those are, so we can ask ourselves, what is being made significant here? What activities? What was the activities one again? I have to scroll up, make sure I get this right. Activities. When we act, we may use language to make it clear what it is we're doing. What activity or activities is this piece of language being used to enact? Unpaid domestic labor is my analysis. Oh, you can't see that, huh? There we go.
Brother notices the time and realizes that he must put things in order and clean himself up in time for dinner.
Wonderful dead air.
Hello there. Junior is always in a hurry, particularly for dinner. But first there's a cleanup job to do on this young man. Brother takes it upon himself to help share Junior's responsibility for keeping their room in good order and keeping Junior in good order too.
All right, to be fair, there is a level of caring here, masculine caring. It is also, though, kind of like, like adopting little brother and help raise him to be a man kind of thing. But to be fair, there is some assumption here of an obligation for unpaid labor on the, for the brother here in terms of keeping their room clean. They're responsible for their stuff, but the women are responsible for everyone's happiness.
Sexuality is stressed in this household. By that I mean hair is combed and faces and hands scrubbed before the boys come to the table so they won't delay the meal. Now, Mother...
So this is it. Men's most important job is to not be late to show up to eat. That's it. They just wait around and go, oh, don't want to be late for dinner. That would be rude. Meanwhile, everything is being done for them. So just, again, identities and relationships, mother, brother, sister, father. I talked about this the last time. These are just empty vessels, empty signifiers where you're meant to put yourself into whatever role is appropriate here. Also, 1950, segregated America. Right? Whiteness is assumed the default of what is normal and American. The other thing, too, I pointed out, 1950, this is only a few years after the Second World War. There are a lot of families that only had one parent. More likely than not, a woman raising her kids alone, if she'd been widowed during the war. Where do those kids put themselves in this story? And these are things that the authors don't seem to have thought too much about. There is one way to be a family, and that is dad as earner, mother as undomestic servant, daughter as helper, domestic servant, and the boys are about their education and a little bit of, keeping their rooms organized. But beyond that, there's no other normal, no other proper, no other ideal being presented here. And I think we can use discourse analysis to reflect on all the people who don't see themselves in this picture and what that does, can kind of speculate on what impact that would have had on them. So we have we're at 125. Okay.
And daughter put the finishing touches on the dinner. Father, too, looks forward to this date with the family. He has had a hard day at the office, and in his briefcase are some contracts which must be looked over tonight.
And it's like I say, like hard day at the office. I'm just going to say, I've worked a lot of jobs in my life. I've worked retail jobs. I've worked in sales retail. I've worked at coffee shops. I've worked doing door-to-door volunteer work for the party. Office work can be stressful. It is never as physically demanding as, say, cleaning a house 8 hours a day. So dad gets the acknowledgement that he worked hard. Where is the acknowledgement that mom worked hard? It doesn't happen, right? Because women's work in this paradigm, in this very heteronormative, cis-normative paradigm, only men's work here is valued. And that's why dad gets this honored place, because he brings home the money. Despite the fact that mom couldn't even go out and get a job in 1950s America outside of the women's jobs in the classified section. She could only choose from the jobs that were posted in the women's section. So again, it's reinforcing this notion of power and control not only of like authority in the house, but economic control as well. It also shows us that men's work is valuable and we should empathize with how hard he sat on his butt all day long and did paperwork. That's where we are meant to put our sympathy, not with mom who's breaking her back, doing the grocery shopping, cleaning the house, preparing dinner, also like getting herself ready and doing sewing on top of all her other stuff. That's just what women do. Like that's, we don't need to really value that. Well, my hair looks really dumb today. Oh well, I'm just going to live with it. Okay.
But in the meantime, he
Yeah,
will
women
provide
are
for dinner
decorations,
with those he
exactly.
loves.
Hi, Sib.
A simple centerpiece made from some flowers which grow in the backyard is another of daughter's contributions to the dinner. But it takes up a little too much room, so she moves it to the sideboard.
Even when she does something to make the family situation nicer, if it interferes, she needs to put herself second. She always needs to be putting other things first than herself. And this notion of self-negation is key to patriarchy. Because if you don't indoctrinate someone into thinking that their purpose is to sacrifice their own happiness in order to make others happy, and in the happiness of others is where they'll find their true happiness, how can you convince people to do stuff for free for an entire lifetime? And all they want from it is for someone else to benefit from their work. This self-negation is a really toxic part of a patriarchal structure, and we can see in the ways that all of in here, even privileged white women and white girls are still constantly under pressure to negate their own happiness and center male happiness instead, and others' happiness instead. And this constant self-regulation has to happen for you to be a good person as a woman, a cis woman, in this world.
These boys greet their dad as though they are genuinely glad to see him.
They aren't actually genuinely glad. They're just acting. It's just notice how all of this is meant to create a little an ego feed for the dad. Right? Dad goes and sits on his butt all day and does stuff in the office. Then he comes home and he's got his wife looking hot. He's got a meal waiting for him. His sons are staring up at him with admiration in their eyes, going, "Oh, you're so awesome, Dad." This is weird. This is really weird. And yet this was considered the ideal for the 1950s because it's patriarchal, right? So men on top, and then, oldest man, father of the household or head of the household is alpha male. I hate that, but you know what I mean. And those underneath him need to praise him. Right? I'm not saying you shouldn't be happy when your parent comes home at the end of the day. What I'm saying is that this is a very gendered notion of a family. It's very much divided up, very patriarchal in terms of its assigned gender roles.
As though they had really missed being away from him during the day and are anxious to talk to him. This is the time for pleasant discussion in a thoroughly relaxed mood. They don't pick this time of the day to spring unpleasant surprises on Dad. If they have disagreeable news, they'll postpone the discussion until another time. And this is no time to dun Father for a raise in your allowance, new clothes, or argue about other financial matters.
Again, this hierarchy in the household, right? It all centers around the dad. It all centers around him being this little emperor. And notice these three guys sitting on the couch not lifting a finger to help with dinner or set the table or anything. It's like they're at a restaurant. And they get to go and have their little man's conversation while the women are in the kitchen doing all the work. I mean, I'm not saying anything, I suppose that's really surprising, but you have to think about, or at least I'm thinking about, how this endless indoctrination was put forward in the culture to all, for kids all over America. And the people who are writing this think that they're righteous. They think that they are providing kids with a proper outlook on how to be deferential to their dad and take and no notice of women's work.
Ah, dinner time. Yes, Mother. Junior remembered to clean up.
There's so much hotness. Yeah, they're totally getting some later tonight.
Brother seats Junior. Then helps Mother to her chair as he would his best girl.
Ew! Ew! Ew, that line. Oh, that line always gets me. Why would you say that? Why would you? Because, I mean, honestly, if you do think about it, patriarchy conditions boys from a very early age to think that women are there to serve them. Their mom is there to like love them unconditionally, feed them, to like pamper them, whatever else. And then when they get old enough, they get that, but in someone they can have sex with. So, but this idea that, the whole best girl thing and weird, just weird. I can't with that.
Well, the dinner date has begun, and they're all happy about it.
Yeah, great.
Many families throughout the country observe the custom of saying grace at mealtime. It is always treated with reverence and respect.
This one, I guess, I don't have, other than the fact that it's in a public school, normalizing the expectation that you should have a faith, which I think is wrong. Also 1950s, right? Communism, Red Scare, the idea that Christianity was used as a way of, again, associating a sense of Americanness against the godless communist. And so here, what the norm is a good family is one that believes. And it's promoting that notion of what is good and normal. This is what a good and normal family does. It's actually it's not as Christian focused as it could be. And I don't know if this is meant to be more inclusive of Jewish people as well. I'm kind of surprised they actually just talk about, or maybe that it's just so assumed. Maybe they're worried about the divisions between the Catholics and the Protestants, and they don't want to, have that raise up. But yeah, the whole idea, it's very much, again, whiteness, Christianness, and maleness are really associated with what true Americanness means here.
Napkins on the lap, the family awaits service. They converse pleasantly while Dad serves.
So Dad didn't do S to make this meal, right? And he controls the finances, but that's because the law excludes everyone else basically from, working properly, or at least the mom from working and making her own money in the 1950s. She can't have a credit card in her own name. She can't have a bank account in her own name. But so he basically hands over money. She goes, decides the recipe, the menu, does the grocery shopping, brings it all home, prepares it, cooks it, has daughter set the table. She and daughter bring out all the stuff, and then Dad hands it out like he did it. Again, the person who did the work isn't getting the credit. This tells us that what's being made significant here is men's ownership of money, not the labor women add to the production of something. And he gets to just take all that and pretend like it's his. It might be a small thing, that he gets to sit down and serve all the food, but it's a power play. It's a power structure. It's claiming what is his, even though he put zero labor into the actual production of the meal. And I think that that's kind of interesting anyway. All right.
I said pleasantly, for that is the keynote at dinner time. It is not only good manners, but good sense.
It's very important to repress all your emotions at dinner. It's really the theme of the rest of this video. I also feel like we can speed this up a bit more. So we're going to speed this up a bit more because he's going a bit slow. There's a lot of dead air here. So
pleasant, unemotional conversation helps digestion. Father serves mother first.
Pleasant, unemotional conversation. Wow. I was hinting at the repressive nature of this, like what they were teaching, but yeah, Emotionless conversation. You don't want to, yeah, that's the key. Repress it all. Push it down. Push it way, way down.
Then daughter. Then the boys.
Oh, yeah, let's see who gets, so the women get served first, but
Father
again,
serves mother first.
this
Then daughter.
this appearance of chivalry, which is really just designed to accentuate like the man's grace. Oh, look at how nice he's being by serving these poor women first. Right? That's very much another part of like patriarchal entrapment of putting women on pedestals that are really cages. It's a pretend level of respect that really is meant to reinforce a secondary status.
Then the boys. Don't forget.
Oh, so Dean Fan says, this is what meals are like when my grandparents visit, and I hate this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry, fellas, you won't get left.
Lots of dead air in this video.
Help cut your meat, Junior? Of course. By example, older children can teach younger ones good table manners.
I don't have much to say about that line.
No one starts eating until father has served himself.
All right, yeah.
Always wait for the hostess, in this case mother, to begin eating before you start.
This is so weird. I mean, this is such a controlled... Imagine, like, growing up in a household where, I get it that it's quite polite to, wait. I know in Germany in particular, so let's talk about some cultural differences. One of the things that kind of surprised me, or I was new to me when I moved to Germany, was that, we kind of like in our family, we were just common, but once we kind of all sit down and we start eating, like we've assembled our plates, you pass everything around, you take what you want. And once you started passing food around, if you've got things on your plate, you can just start eating because it's like a group thing. Here, what they want is, you pass everything around, everyone gets settled, and then you wait. And then, the hostess the mom gets to eat. It's just kind of weird. It's it's like more of a public sphere. This doesn't seem a very private sphere to me and casual. This seems like levels of control at every stage of life.
Let father and mother guide the conversational trend if they desire. After all, they made all this possible and may want to talk over their day with each other.
And so, again, hierarchy. Right? Kids are being shown or told again and again, you need to not ask your dad for a raise. You need to think about your dad's feelings. You need to not bring stuff. You need to be quiet. Children should be seen and not heard. All of this hierarchy about who is really important here, and why they're important. Dad is, so, I mean, some of it is, I can understand if they were placing it more in terms of like a value, like how do I say? Obviously, when someone puts some effort into something, you want to acknowledge it. But this is being driven more from a sense of, like I said, like hierarchy and structure rather than gratitude. It's about what's required of you, not what you should be, like what you can give to others, if that makes sense.
Tell mother how good the food is. Maybe sis rates a compliment too.
Maybe
it makes them want to
sis.
continue pleasing you.
It makes them want to continue pleasing you. This is a huge line, right? Because it tells us immediately that this movie, even though it will be watched by girls, is really aimed at boys. Again, cis heteronormativity here. But if a woman works really hard and you give her a compliment, it inspires her to do more unpaid labor for you. All right? And it's these little assumptions about who the audience is and what the goal of this whole message is that comes through in these scripts. And discourse analysis allows us a framework to go, oh, here, what activity is being enacted? How is this significant? What is being seen? What identities are there? And through this process, we can really understand, we can articulate in much more detail things that we know intuitively are coming across. And that's why discourse analysis is very useful, because it does provide it provides a structure, a rigorous structure for us to consistently evaluate a piece of media.
Well, all this is good general advice, but there are some specific don'ts. Maybe the family will demonstrate for us. Don't monopolize the conversation and go on and on without stopping.
And it's the daughter who does the monopolizing the conversation, even though studies have shown that men in meetings talk like more than women. Women and men do talk more at different times on average. Again, it's not an essentialist, and it's also very socially constructed. But this idea that women talk too much and say frivolous things is reinforced here.
Nothing destroys the charm of a meal more quickly. To say that the rest of the group is bored would be a gross understatement.
Yeah, she's just going on and on. Why would men be interested in what a woman has to say? Is kind of the message you're getting here. Women should be quiet and not talk about themselves or express themselves except as is acceptable and pleasant for men.
Don't discuss unpleasant topics such as gruesome sights or sounds, or unpleasant occurrences. This is a time of pleasure, of charm, and relaxation, remember? Don't make unkind comparisons about your standard of living. The dinner table is no place for discontent. It makes Dad and Mother uncomfortable and unhappy.
And basically, again, this is a whole material thing about don't ask your dad for money when it comes down to.
Don't insult your brother or sister with offensive remarks about friends. Arguments, harsh words mean tension and distress for everyone.
I have a feeling that sometimes when I watch this, the author has had a really bad family house experience. And they're complaining. They're going through their personal list of problems they've had with members of their family at dinner.
Do remember simply this. Treat the other members of your family with the same respect and cordiality you would show your most treasured friend outside the family circle. This does not mean you should be stiff or formal. With your own family, you can relax. Be yourself. Just be sure it's your best self.
So don't be yourself. It's basically, it's like, don't be your true self with your family. Put on a version of yourself that's acceptable to them. Okay. All right. I'm trying to find a way to put the things that we're looking out for here also over the comments. So, all right. For some reason that looks fine. All right. We're almost done.
This is better. Now things are on an even keel again. Now we're ready for dessert. Most families don't have maids, so Mother needs help with the serving from the kitchen.
Most families don't have maids. True. But interesting, again, what framework they're thinking of. Who are the people who can afford maids in the States in the 1950s? White people, right?
Son says Mother has done enough. Watch him play butler.
He's only playing butler. This is an actual requirement for him, unlike daughter, whose job it is to get the dinner table ready and to look pleasant and all that stuff. He gets to play at being butler. It's just, it's a lark for him. This is the difference between men's domestic work. They help out. Women just do stuff, right?
The removal of dishes from the main course and the serving of dessert set the stage for the conclusion of a thoroughly pleasant meal. Do you begin to see now how a date with your family can be a truly special occasion? Do you know why brother and sister looked forward to the evening?
To be emotionally repressed, to participate in an unwarranted hierarchy, and to internalize misogyny and patriarchy? Was that the answer? Because that's what I'm looking at. Yeah,
when the dinner hour at
pretend to
home
be
is treated
yourself.
With a certain amount of graciousness and ceremony, it can be memorable. There is no family so poor but that the evening meal can be eaten in an atmosphere of warmth and gentleness.
And repression and false appearance and, again, not being your real self, just pretend to be yourself.
There is no family so busy but that it can come together in the evening for a dinner date which will give its members something to look back upon with happiness all their days.
All right. So at this point, I think it's worth looking at the chat. And is this something that y'all would be... let me see. Okay. Yeah, I can do this one, except I have to tilt. Hold on. Really quick. Setting a couple things up. All right. Transition over. Yay. Yeah, was this something y'all found interesting? I mean, I can maybe look for doing something like this again if I don't get busted too badly by YouTube for the What's the word I'm looking for? For copyright infringement. Oh, that's my blanket. Get my pretty colors out here so you can, yeah. Oh, that's another blanket. Anyway, do you, I'm going to ask people in the chat to please do a reply here, and I haven't put that up, so I guess I'm going to have to go back to the other screen and put y'all up. But what are your thoughts on Gee stuff? I guess what I can also do is check to see if anyone put anything in the Discord. Let me check Discord really quick. Yep, that's... yeah, it'll work on here. In case anyone did take the time, I want to acknowledge and thank you kick up for your efforts. So let me go look in the Social Science Discord, or Social Science Sunday Discord room to see if anybody has... I'm not seeing anyone running up. Okay, no, good. I didn't miss anything, I don't think. Social science topics. Let me just check. Social Science Sunday, no. Then what I would say is, yeah, if you could do just really quick for people who are watching in the chat, did this process of having specific categories of analysis for social processes, did it help you clarify things that you kind of saw in the text but didn't really have a name for or were struggling to articulate? And that would be my question to you, so please do type it in. I find discourse analysis very useful in organizing my thoughts. And also what I find incredibly useful is the way that it makes you step back from your involvement in a discourse or in a piece of text. And so I do think that, yeah, there are a lot of those old PSAs. So, one of the things that we could do for a little while, because I'm kind of getting to the end of like this qualitative stuff. We did the philosophy, we looked at modes of data collection, and now we're kind of in different forms of analysis. We can maybe apply a bit more discourse analysis to text. But then because it's getting to be autumn, and I could know stuff, I'm thinking about switching out on Social Science Sunday to maybe swap it in with a thing that I feel like really needs to get talked about, and I don't see people talking about it. I don't see good content on it. I'm not happy with the things I've read about it, and I want to do something, but I'm also lazy. The idea is kind of like maybe swap between Social Science Sunday and a new thing that would be called Patriarchy Ruins Everything. It would be really paying attention to the ways that patriarchy operates in a culture to ruin people's lives. So, yeah, you liked having this structure. Thank you, Michael, for doing the assignment properly and answering my question. All right, so then maybe what we can do is, because I feel like at this point, I can't go through every single mode of qualitative analysis. There's no point in us really going into depth on writing up qualitative analysis because you're not going to do that. And it might help you read some pieces, but well-written qualitative pieces should be self-evident in terms of why they're good or how they're presenting their analysis. So I think it might be more interesting if we take Gee's principles on a Social Science Sunday, we take a piece of media and we have a little look at it and we try to understand and break down what is going on in this piece of media while during the show. Or we can, look at some other philosophy or other approaches. Let me just really quick here. I don't think I'm trying to go back to my lecture series, which stupidly, this doesn't really, okay. Let me see how many other lectures were in this series, because I think we're getting kind of close to the end. Again, we're not doing labs or anything like that. So qualitative research, yay. Philosophy, methods, ethnography. Oh, I guess we did talk. Okay, so here's a date with your family. Then there was reliability and validity. And then writing up qualitative research. Here's why I'm ambivalent. Look, reliability and validity in qualitative research is actually a really interesting topic. So maybe we should do that. Also, I'm a little bit hesitant to do this because I'm writing an article on this topic right now and making a contribution in the field. But maybe it would be, I can just introduce that generally. Okay, so tell you what, to wrap this up, because I do think reliability and validity in qualitative research are very important questions, especially in defense of qualitative research against quantitative research. And I want you all to feel prepared and capable of handling these questions. So let's do this. We're going to do one more lecture. We're not going to do writing up qual analysis because it's not relevant to you. But I do think it's really important that you are able to hear the arguments as to why qualitative research, or the criteria upon which qualitative research is considered reliable and valid. Can I give you, all right, so all right, reliability and validity. What does that mean? So reliability is, in the social sciences, or even in medical sciences, the idea that your analysis, here, let me get this. I actually want to use these terms correctly. So I think what I'll do is I'll slide down. And yes, in quantitative research, a reliable measure is one that produces the same response to a question. So whether that's an experimental lab stimuli in order to get a response, or question wording, or it could even be for a blood test, right? If you have a product that you use to test blood and the product testing kit produces random samples, this is not a reliable measure. You can't trust that the results that you're getting are going to be the same even though they should be, right? This allows us, so if something is reliable and it produces similar responses, like over time or across groups, then we have comparability in the data that it produces. If it produces different results randomly, then our data are just completely unreliable. Validity is and we can talk about this in more detail the next time. Validity means that you're correctly inferring something. So in this case, your theory and your observations, they actually have a link to them. And external validity is the one that most people are familiar with, and that is sampling generalizability. To what extent is this a good or valid metric for the rest of the population? Qualitative research has a different approach to the same questions, and we are going to take those up next week. All right, so we'll do that because I do think it's important, and then we'll have some fun for a couple weeks. I'm going to the UK for 6 weeks. I guess we should also discuss this. Let me check, how many weeks is this now? 1, 2, 3. I fly out to the UK on the 1st of November. So we've got 3 more weeks, and I'm not entirely sure what my setup's going to be like then, so I will keep you updated. I'm not planning on shutting down my weekly streaming when I'm in the UK, but I will be in a different location and the sound will be different. So just as an FYI. But for the rest of October, let's do this. Let's do reliability and validity as we've planned here. And then starting in November, maybe we can, start Why Patriarchy Ruins Everything. And I might have to, depending on what I'm going to be doing with in Dundee on a Sunday, maybe I'll have to drop it every week, but just I'll try to be regular and consistent as I have been in the past. All right, I'm done. Everything I've said is out of my head. Let's see. Sib also, Mike, Sib slept through the first 20 minutes and didn't understand. No, it's fine. And you missed Kristi screwing up the audio anyway. So it's all good. It's all good. All right. Hey, y'all, I hope you learned something. You feel smarter now as a consequence of this episode. And you can see my curtains are here, in the background. That's what that is. I will be back next Sunday with more geeky social science stuff. I hope you can join me. And until next time, I have been Kristi. You've been awesome. Have a great Sunday, wherever it is, whenever it is you are. Stay happy, stay healthy, and stay well. And we'll see each other again really soon. Okay. Bye.